FNCS Grand Finals are right around the corner, and that can only mean one thing. It's time for heats. Today I'm going to be analysing all three heats and giving you my predictions on who I believe is going to qualify. Let's get straight into it. So if you're not 100% clear on how the format works, let me break it down for you. We have 3 heats, each one containing 50 teams. 15 teams from each heat will qualify. That will be the 5 game winners and the 10 most consistent duos. So we will have 45 duos qualify from this round. The remaining 5, of course, will be made up of the game winners from the LCQ round. Let's start off with Heat 1. Now, I'm going to do these predictions by giving you my top 15 list. I'm not necessarily going to specify whether they'll win a game or whether they'll qualify through consistency. But listen, let's get straight into it. Shark and Teeny will be qualifying for the FNCS Grand Finals. There's no doubts about it. I know they are contested at Wonky Land on the map, but whether they win a game, whether they qualify through consistency, they will 100% make it. If anything, the real question is, will they delay winning a game just so they can keep landing at Wonky Land and grief Hottie and Fishy X out of qualification? I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. Biko and Malibuka should also have no issues making it. I can see them winning game 2, if not game 1. They are locks to qualify. Kami and Hari shouldn't have any issues either. I know they've been out of form lately. Their divisional cup placements have been pretty lacking, but they do have the Lighthouse uncontested. And in these heats level lobbies, they should have more than enough quality to get the job done. Focus and Thomas HD will qualify without any issues. They, of course, won the play-ins round, so they are in great form. They are contested over at Riptides, but across 5 games, they're either going to dominate off spawn or they're going to win one. They won't have any issues either. Yapko and Panzer should qualify. Uncontested Painted Palms. This is a team that are very hot and cold. Of course, they did win a divisional cup last season back in week 3. They also managed a 2nd place in the 2nd EWC qualifier. But outside of that, it's been a bit shaky. But listen, on their day, we know how much quality they have, and all they need to do is finish inside that top 10 for consistency, and they shouldn't have any issues doing that. Twek and Mydro are another pick of mine to qualify. They've got Tip Top Terrace uncontested, and we saw from the first EWC qualifier what they can do from a good situation. They were, of course, leading in that for a while. They didn't get the qualification in the end, but they really turned a few people's heads, put themselves on the map with that placement. Now, they shouldn't have any issues here. I don't think this is an unstacked lobby by any means, but with all of these heats lobbies, there's a big discrepancy between the best teams and some of the teams that you wouldn't normally see at this stage. I should specify that these lists are not in any particular order. In 7th place, I've gone for Hottie and Fishy X. Now, this is a bit of a tough one to call. Of course, they are contested over at Wonky Land by Shark and Teeny. This hinges on a couple of factors. I do believe that Shark and Teeny could win game 1, could win game 2, and be out of the tournament very quickly, which could leave Hottie and Fishy X with a couple of games uncontested over at Wonky Land. And if that happens, then I think they can make the best of it. As I mentioned in a previous video, yes, these guys are kind of remembered for their comical off-spawn performance in one of the Div Cups, where they didn't get a single point. They lost every game to Shark and Teeny off-spawn, but outside of that, they are a pretty respectable team that shouldn't be underestimated. And should Shark and Teeny choose not to grief them, I think Hottie and Fishy X have the quality to get through. I've got Chris C and Cactus on my list. I have it on great authority from their coach that they are well prepared for these finals. They're an up-and-coming team that have been looking very, very bright lately. I could easily see them making it. Cringe and Volko should have no issues either. They've got their mid-map spot completely uncontested, and we all know how strong that area is. Pixovsky and Seren are another one of my picks. These guys have just been looking great the whole chapter. They're a very solid team. If they keep playing the way they have done over the past few months, then they'll have no issues. Prism and Casper should also make it. They are uncontested over at their split. A very solid team. Shouldn't have any issues in this type of lobby. Wheat and the Frizzy are another one of my picks, as are King, Cringe and Twy. They're both landing in the mid-map. They're both very capable, especially King, Cringe and Twy. I could easily see them picking up a victory royale in one of the games. We see them do that a lot in the victory cups, in the Eval cups. I could see them doing well. Eyedrop and Marius should make it. Yes, they are contested over at Scribbly Shores, but when they get off spawn, they always look great. I do believe they could be one of the 5 game winners. And finally, let's not forget Truly and Zynox. Now, I know these guys are contested over at their split, but they have been so impressive lately, making 8 out of 8 divisional cup finals this chapter so far, and I know this off-spawn situation isn't ideal, but I do believe they're going to find a way. Now, I did have to leave a few teams out, the most notable one being Pink and Sato, and honestly, I'm still not 100% sure on that. We just haven't seen them offer a lot yet. We haven't seen them hit their potential. Maybe I'm way off here. Maybe they're going to easily qualify and I'll look ridiculous, and honestly, this could potentially change before the heats on Friday, but for now, they are outside of the range. My final predictions for each heat will be posted on my Twitter at SpodsOn about an hour before each heat starts. Calais and Fochka also just about missing out. This is a team that I do really like. Two excellent fighters coming together to form a really interesting duo. The issue is they're landing in that snow split very near to Vico and Malabuka, and I do worry that they might get keyed a bunch. Now, if Vico and Malabuka win a game early, then that all changes, but for now, they're outside of the top 15. Let's move on over to Heat 2. We've got Seti and Rax at Uncon Humble Hills. They haven't been too good in the last few weeks. They haven't made either of the Divisional Cup finals, but it's a team with a lot of quality. They're not going to have any issues here. Tayson and Ghost should also make it too. I know they're contested over at Squibbly Shores, but a team of that quality should be winning a game. We've got Swizzy and Pixie with Uncon Dark Dominion, and again, their form hasn't been that good. They've qualified for both of the past Divisional Cup finals, but finished outside of the top 20 in both of those two, which for a team of this quality on paper with Uncon POIs both times isn't really good enough. So let's see if they can get back into form. They did actually come second in the play-ins round, so we've seen a little bit of a resurgence. Can they keep that up? Dan DePuzo and Werex should make it too. I've been spreading the word about these guys on other shows. They are looking great at the moment. They've got that cringe Volco split uncontested in this heat. Should they make it, which I believe they will, then it's in doubt as to where they're going to land in grand finals. That remains to be seen. But listen, I've been really impressed with what I've seen from these guys so far. They've made every Divisional Cup since they formed. They won a game with Eval the other day. I think things are looking great for them. My fifth team are Sayaz and Scary Sean. In my opinion, these guys are the best Spanish duo in the world. They, of course, managed the third place in the Divisional Cup a couple of weeks ago, so we know that they can hang with the best teams. Uncon in mid-map, this should be a recipe for an easy qualification. I've got Cheatin and Yanis down to qualify, and I know that they've been in very bad form. They just haven't been qualifying for any Divisional Cups, but in a lobby of this standard, even despite the bad form, I do think they just have to qualify. They've got a nice drop spot in that desert area. I do think they should be at the front of the pack. As it go and iFrozy should make it. They're one of the teams that I would back to get a win in this sort of format. Vanya and Wox have got Latte Landing uncontested. Shouldn't have any issues from there. You've got Savage and Velo. Now, this is a bit of a controversial pick because there are currently two teams on them at their south split of Frigid Fortress, and if it stays like that, then it's not looking realistic that they'll qualify. However, we do still have a few days until their heat, and I'm predicting that a couple of these teams might land somewhere else. They may only be there just because it is Mr. Savage. I do think if this situation does resolve itself, then Savage and Velo have a great shot of qualifying through consistency. Kaisers and Gonzo should also make it. This is a very underrated team. Gonzo is someone who looked really bright in the solo series. Of course, he was third after day one of that tournament. He then looked brilliant with Pradage. They made 4 out of 4 consecutive Divisional Cup finals with an average placement of 12.75. They did then split, which initially I thought was a mistake, but Gonzo has been doing really well with Kaisers. These guys won't have any issues. Pahava and Matchak are another one of my picks. They're contested over at the Lighthouse, and this may seem like a bit of a punt, but I do think they're capable of winning a game. This is one that you're just going to have to watch and find out for. I've got Burke and Zany down to qualify, and again, this is sort of based off a hunch. They are, of course, a Danish duo. They're landing at the north side of Battlewood Boulevard, and I've got a sneaky feeling that they may be getting the live coach from Sky and Scroll to help them to grand. Now, that is speculation, but it does seem pretty realistic. It does seem like something that could happen, and if that does turn out to be the case, then these guys should make it. To round out my list, I've got Matez and Kakpi over at the Repair split. I've got Peshka and Kolb at South Battlewood, and Kiro and Uppel landing over at Four Fields, and these guys should easily qualify. If you missed it, Uppel won 3 out of 3 games in the solo victory cup the other day, becoming the first person to do this in the entire chapter. Congratulations to him. I mean, he's someone who's had a bit of a turbulent off-season bouncing between duos. It feels like he's now settled with Kiro, and I'm expecting them to build some consistency. The early placements do look promising. Shout out to Alva Halo and Callum. I couldn't quite fit them in. Craig and Sanya too. This lobby is looking decent. And moving on over to the final heat, this could be the most stacked one of the lot. Of course, Sky and Scroll are going to make it. It doesn't matter if they're Uncon or if they've got 5 teams landing on their head. They're always going to find a way to make it through. In my opinion, they are are probably the best duo in EU right now. They're looking so solid. They've made 8 out of 8 Divisional Cup finals this chapter, not finished outside of the top 10 once in any of those, so this sort of lobby shouldn't faze them at all. Chap and Flixie should also make it, uncontested at the Mountain. They've not been in crazy form lately by any means, but in a lobby of this quality shouldn't be an issue. Chino and Pablo, uncon at Sandy, that's an easy qualification. Acer and Podesai, uncon at the Pelian Swamp. They're a team that will realistically qualify for the Summit Land, so they'll have no issues here. Akira and Karama are currently contested at the south side of Frigid Fortress by Marco and Ark. Now, I do believe they are going to find a way to qualify because we know they're great in these kind of Victory Cup formats. They should be winning one of the 5 games. Even if they don't, I'm sure they're going to manage it through consistency. We all know how good this duo is. They're probably inside the top 10 teams on the EU at this point, and they won't have any problems. We've got Skyjump and Mumsy uncontested over at the Forest Split. They should have enough about them to make it. Dom and Demush are actually conned, and that's over at Dark Dominion. But with these guys, they should be finding a way as well. We've got Fridoxy and Sanguild. Again, they are contested over at Squibbly Shores. Maybe I'm picking too many con teams in my predictions. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but I can see these guys winning a game. I can see them finding a way. We also know how good Fridoxy is off spawn, so I do think they're going to win more fights than they lose. I think there is a very realistic route to qualification here. Zarbi and Finchik should make it from that West Snow Split, as should Fastroki and Bevies from over at Riptides. 2 solid teams with favourable drop situations. I've also got Kashi and Firen to qualify from uncontested Lighthouse. That's where they landed in Reload as well. Clearly, they like a Lighthouse. Same with Kami and Hari actually. Shura and Repairs should also make it. They have changed their spot. They're no longer landing at that South Split. They are now landing at the Rock Split. But these guys have shown great quality over the past few weeks. Yes, the most recent Divisional Cup was a pretty dreadful performance. They finished in 47th place, but we've seen enough from them to know that they do have the quality to get into that top 15. Sined and Giras should make it. This is a team that could be challenging to make the Summit Land. I know they are contested in this heat, but I do believe they will get the better of the other team off spawn. I could see that being a 4-1, and in those 4 games, they should be able to get enough points to sit inside that top 10 for consistency. Howley and Lucia should qualify. Now, this is a team that very narrowly missed out on qualifying for the EWC. They were just behind Khan and Faded on the leaderboard, so this should represent no issues for them. And finally, Eclipse and Cade at Uncon 4 fields should have enough about them to make it. There are a bunch of good teams in this heat that I couldn't fit into the predictions. Moneymaker and Fanayan are contested by Wavy and Josh and another duo, so I think all of those teams will struggle. Roban and Axe Force at Uncon at Latte Landing just couldn't quite fit them in. Phyto and Skivi, Nebs and Nathan, and Bimbo and Josh also not quite making it. So those are my predictions for heats. Now let's talk about a few other tournaments. We had the Eval Cup last Thursday. The first game was won by Dom and Demush. We then had Shark and Teeny win game 2, having also managed a second earlier on. Seti and Rax managed to win game 3, and Twek and Mydro winning the 4th game. Those are 4 teams that I all think are going to make heats. They are looking good at the moment. We also have the Solo Victory Cup. I mentioned earlier on in the video that Uppal, of course, managed those 3 out of 3 wins. We had a bunch of EU players also managed 2 out of 3 wins. Amongst them, we had Karama, no shocks there, Pahava and Alba, someone who is looking so impressive in solos at the moment. It's a real shame that she wasn't able to make the heats because of a queuing issue. Only 16 points off that top 150 in play-ins. Very unfortunate. It really felt to me like this was the season she was going to make grands. And finally, we also had the announcement of the triple threat skins. That's right, Somerset, Reddish and Moxie have all been added into the game, which is a really cool announcement. It sets a really interesting precedent too. Could we see more faces from the competitive community added into Fortnite and not necessarily being icon skins? This is definitely a very exciting announcement. A bit of a side note, but I would have liked to have seen a couple of female tournaments announced with this. It would have been nice to have the return of Girl Cups because it's something that's been sorely lacking since the Milk Cup was cancelled a few months ago. Yeah, I just think it would have been the perfect time alongside this announcement to bring back those kind of tournaments. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything that happens in EU. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.